Let's get a new phone.
Kyle, stay up.
Let's make our phone explode.
Kyle's.
Get out of bed. Open the closet. Put clothes on.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important.
Jeans is...
Kyle decided on a fashion-forward, casual style. He could barely see out of the goggles.
Back to room. Exit bedroom, go to hallway. Move to kitchen. Casual clothes. Open fridge. Prepare breakfast.
Kyle constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast, along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage.
Eat or smash? I assume smash doesn't mean eat fast, so we'll just eat.
Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite. He felt refreshed.
Sure. Food. Return to hallway. Check locked door. Wait. Oh. Okay, leave apartment. Just a tech store. Kyle walked into the clean, white tech store. He was greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot playing soft music from a small microphone. Steal Techno... Give...
This phone, said Kyle, is several years old and has exposed wires coming out of the back.
Okay.
Kyle continued. Also, the screen has had issues ever since I used it to hammer nails into the wall.
Yeah, see, I'm just an idiot.
Furthermore, when I submerge it in water, I get severely shocked until it runs out of battery. The attendant looked at Kyle, pursed his lips, and said nothing. Feeling he had made his argument, Kyle decided to leave.
I don't get a new phone?
Kyle hurried to the set.
Yeah.
Sitting
Yep, she's smart. Yep.
Good evening, Kyle, she said.
Yep.
Kyle responded.
Answer politely.
And I as well.
Shake hands.
After
more.
A moment after. Good evening.
Introduce Rachel.
Tonight, I have...
More.
Kyle motioned.
More.
Well, I'm very ready, said Rachel with a winning smile. In a shock. Knowing he had the eyes of
Blame Rachel.
Rachel, I need to be honest. You're not terribly interesting, and I could not think of what I should ask you.
Okay.
In fact, continued Kyle, I would far rather interview a fish than I would you.
I am wearing goggles.
And furthermore, said Kyle, I'm not sure I could tell the difference between a you and a fish.
I am making some rather pertinent points here.
Kyle leaned back in his chair and desperately hoped the blame had been shifted adequately.
It sure has.
Rachel glowered at Kyle.
Oh, just because she can use fancy words for staring at me angrily.
Kyle glowered back.
I can do it too.
Rachel left the studio.
Because she's weak.
Kyle no longer had a guest and spent the next 42 minutes staring at the camera silently.
Kyle prepared by blaming others. Reset. Exit bed. Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down.
I need gossip, apparently.
Kyle firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbors below.
Oh. Okay.
I heard Rachel May is going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more.
Is that how women talk? Also, 1 minute. Kind of. Okay, so I'm kind of well known for being so out of the loop on gossip that, like, people outside my office let me know what's going on inside my office, but, like, this, do people talk like this?
Well, what I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers.
I'm not the bug vigilante, it's the person under me?
There was a stunned silence. Then a door opened, and someone exited the neighbor's apartment.
That's quite enough. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take...
Suit.
Kyle...
Sit at desk. Check in drawer. Small key.
Kyle grabbed the...
Back to desk. Write notes.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Are you a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second.
Diet tips.
Kyle wrote down his third question.
What's your funny story?
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Are you guilty?
Kyle ripped his page of notes.
Back to desk. Check lock door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in
I
the
have a
hallway,
key!
but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
I have a key. Okay.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras
Oh.
clicked on.
Okay. Huh. Gossip about neighbor or start broadcast? We'll go with start broadcast, but we'll go back to gossip neighbor. We'll start with an easy one. What's your funniest story?
Yeah, you've been involved in a lot of different things, said Kyle. But what's your funniest story? Well, that's a great question, Kyle, said Rachel.
Don't patronize me.
I think the story I always remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family.
You have a family? But you're a philanderer.
What you're saying is extremely misogynistic.
Yes. Thank you. That was not necessary, but I appreciated it. And proves my point. Women can do anything.
I'm saying that you're being sexist.
No, I'm being misogynistic. That is insane. I am not being sexist.
In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped the whole jar of salt in the pot. While my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in my room.
Why'd you steal your family stuff? And why'd you lock yourself in the room? That you can't escape. What kind of criminal are you?
Rachel laughed elegantly. Kyle decided to move on.
No!
Kyle
Catch
asked
your inner
another
thing.
question.
Are you a mother?
Rachel, I and many others would love to know, are you a mother? Kyle looked up from his notes.
I mean, that question should have came before the family.
Well, being a single woman with a career, she answered, that's not something that has crossed my mind.
Wait a minute. You just said you cooked your family dinner. And stole their stuff. I don't think a kid would cook their family dinner and steal their stuff. I'm on to you.
Rachel smiled genuinely at Kyle.
That's a lie.
Very reasonable indeed, said Kyle. He referenced his paper of questions. Kyle asked another question. Rachel, you manage to keep such a thin and healthy figure, said Kyle. What is your best diet tip? Well, a good diet starts with a plan, answered Rachel. And don't break it. Cheat days can turn into a habit. But, she continued, that doesn't mean a midnight snack here and there isn't allowed. She smiled. Kyle looked at his flabby self, decided not to comment, and moved on.
No, I made fun of my flabby self.
Kyle asked another question.
Are you guilty?
Rachel. Are you guilty? Kyle threw his questions on the floor, stood up, and pointed at her. Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what, dear Kyle? She smiled disingenuously. Guilty, spat Kyle. Of your crimes! Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably.
Let's push her more.
After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper.
Oh.
Well, Rachel, he said.
What?
I
What?
think that's all I was planning on asking.
What? What?
If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Do you prepare for your interviews in advance? Because you seem very together.
Oh, your sarcasm.
Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in bed and drifted to sleep, he felt that perhaps something was still missing.
I prepared very well.
Kyle asked another question.
Wait, when did I click diet tips anyway? Are you guilty?
Rachel. Are you guilty? Kyle threw his questions on the floor, stood up, and pointed at her. Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what, dear Kyle? She smiled disingenuously. Guilty, spat Kyle. Of your crimes! Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably.
Call the police.
Kyle whipped out his phone and started dialing the police. Kyle quickly realized that the broken phone he had gotten for free was not able to call anyone.
But I couldn't get a new phone when I tried.
Kyle looked sadly at his hand, realizing he had botched a wonderful opportunity to be helped. Rachel looked at Kyle smiling. Her eyebrows twitched a bit. What's the problem, Kyle? Anything I can help you with? She glared, still smiling. Kyle looked up from his hand sadly. He slowly shook his head. The interview continued on. Rachel answered questions cheerily. Kyle forced a smile through the entire episode, but he felt very sad inside. Kyle had missed his chance to be helpful.
Kyle wasn't helpful.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
That's about neighbor.
Good evening, everybody, said Kyle. My neighbor is a bug vigilante. With nothing more to say on the matter, he fell silent.
Okay.
Rachel, also on camera, stared at her hands and wondered when she was going to be introduced.
She's not.
The producer started cutting to different camera angles to break the tension. Kyle continued to remain silent and stare forward blankly.
Yep.
After several minutes, neighbor Gabby walked out onto set. Hi, everyone, she said, smiling hollowly. My name is Gabby, and I'm not a bug vigilante.
If you're not the bug vigilante, how did you get on my set?
False. Kyle looked at Gabby and then returned to staring forwards. Gabby began to reply, but was interrupted by a bug-shaped intercom on her belt.
Bug girl,
It squawked.
a robbery's in progress on East 3rd. Report immediate.
Gabby threw the intercom on the ground and crushed it under her foot. After a beat, she spoke tightly. Something has come up suddenly and I must go. Gabby left the set. Well, said Kyle, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Well, that didn't work.
Kyle got up, shook Rachel's hand again, and walked past the cameras, leaving her alone. Not knowing what else to do, the producer ended the broadcast. In the coming days, fans of both Rachel and Kyle dubbed this show as a masterpiece of television.
Boom.
Stay Up Late with Kyle's online pages were updated to reflect this broadcast as the most popular ever.
Oh, man,
Kyle's
what do you
producer
know?
later tried to have Rachel on the show again, but she was very, very, very busy.
Kyle talked about Gabby.
Kyle asked, we all have one. What's your guilty pleasure?
Robbery.
Ooh, well, that's an easy answer, said Rachel, dipping pickles in chocolate sauce.
No, it's robbery. You're guilty.
It might sound strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. I eat it far too often. Rachel smiled sweetly. After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that's all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Do you prepare for... Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in...